Alright, welcome students to I-3. This is function notation. So this is going to be our last lesson that kind of chunks together with those I-1, I-2, I-3, kind of all about functions, understanding them, and then later on we'll actually be graphing these functions that we'll be working with. Okay, so for today we're going to do function notation. And function notation is a way to name a function that is written as an equation and you can easily see the input and output. Oh, you cannot see any of that. There we go. So I'll give you a second to write that. A way to name a function that is written as an equation, and you can see the input and the output. Okay, so if I look at f of x equals x plus 2. This f, we call this function f. So that is the name of the function. This one is specifically called function f. X is what we're putting into the function, so that is our input. And then in this case, it tells us our rule, that we're going to do x plus 2. Okay, so for this one, if I took this function f and I put 3 into it, this rule would tell me that I want to take that 3 and I want to do 3 plus 2. And 3 plus 2 is 5. So 3 was my input, or my x. Okay, and 5 is my output. Which is also known as my y. Alright, we're going to do 2 examples here. Well, we're going to write the 2 functions, and then we'll do a couple examples with them. So for our first example, I'll just write examples, IDK, man. We're going to have function k of x equals 6x plus 7. So when I look at function k, I know this is telling me to take whatever I have in, and when I put it in, I'm going to get x, I'm going to take that x, multiply it by 6, and add 7 to find my answer. Okay, then I also have m of x. And this tells me when I get an x, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2x squared minus 4. So when I get an x, I'll put it into that x squared, and then a minus 4. Okay. And the way we say this is we say this as k of x. Or we could say when we're putting x into function k, but a lot of times mathematicians will say m of x. So when we see those parentheses, we like to use that word of. Alright, so for all my examples, my directions are going to be to evaluate. Evaluate is a little bit different than simplify. Simplify means to get it as easy as possible, but usually there's still a variable in our answer. When we see evaluate, evaluate tells us to find the answer, actually get a numerical number. Okay, so for number 1, we're going to do k of 6. And that tells me that I'm going to put 6 into function k. Alright, so I'm going to color code mine. I'm going to use yellow for k. And I'm going to use green for my m. So when I see this k of 6, this tells me I'm going to use function k. So that tells me that I'm going to do 6, but instead of x, I'm going to use this as my x now, this 6. So 6 times 6 plus 7. And we can use our order of operations to find that answer. We could also just use Desmos. Desmos is smart enough to do that, but we know we're going to multiply before we add. So 6 times 6 is 36. Plus 7, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43. So I want to write it as a full sentence. When I put 6 into function k, I get out 43 as my answer. And that tells me, the reader, exactly what we did. The reader knows we took this 6, we put it into this k function, and our answer we got out was 43. Alright, number 2. We're going to evaluate k of negative 32. And we want to know, what does that equal? So I have to decide, which function are we using? Are we going to use this function k or function m? And this first letter here tells me the function name. I'm using function k, which is 6x plus 7. But instead of x, I'm going to use that negative 32. So 6 times negative 32 plus 7. Anytime we put in an x, using those parentheses is going to be a good choice, because that ensures that we're going to get that right answer, just like how we did in our tables for quadratics. Okay, I'm going to use my calculator for this one. So I don't know what 6 times negative 32 is. So 6 times negative 32 plus 7. And we get negative, let's see what shows up there, negative 185. You can kind of see it there. So I'm going to write that as a full sentence. K of negative 32. When I put negative 32 in for the x, I get out negative 185 as my y. Alright, we have 2 more examples. Number 3. Number 3, we're going to find m of negative 3. So this time we're going to use function m. Up at the top there, my function m I did in green. So I know I'm going to use this green one this time. And again, I'm using negative 3 for that x. If it helps you to put an x there, put an x there, so you know that's what you're replacing x with. So 2, and then instead of x, we're going to do negative 3 squared minus 4. Okay, and again, we can use our order of operations. We would want to do those exponents first, then the multiplying, then the subtracting, or we can just use Desmos. Desmos is a smart calculator, helps us do it. We don't want to use our phone calculator, because our phone calculator won't know what to do first. Minus 4, and we get out 14. So this tells me when I put in negative 3 into function m, I get out, my answer was 14. Alright, we're going to do one more. number 4. And this time we're going to do m of 6 plus k of 9. So m tells me I'm going to use function m, and I'm going to plug in 6 to function m. But then I need to find the function of k using that 9, plugging 9 in. I'm going to say that again. First we're going to find 6, plug that into our function m, get an answer. We also need to plug in 9 into function k and get an answer. But then we want to add our answers together. Okay, so m of 6, when I do m is the 2x squared minus 4. So I'm going to do 2, my x is 6 squared minus 4. And then I need to do my k of 9, and I'm going to use my function k. So I need to go back to k, and that's our 6 times x. Our x is 9 plus 7. So it's really important we're following which rules those go with. Then we can plug that into our Desmos calculator. I already have this one in, which is kind of nice. I can delete that -3, just put in a 6, and we get 68. 6 times 9 plus 7, we get 61. So that's each of them separately. Now we have to add them together. So we're going to do 68 plus 61. We get 129. So m of 6 plus k of 9. When we add those answers together, we get our output is 129. Sorry. Whoa, got a little crazy there with that box. Alright, so that is your notes for I-3. You're going to take your time now to do your quick check. And we're moving on. Nice job.